Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Nice to see a growing in-house audience, and welcome to all the people who are watching us on Zoom. I didn't get the count today, but it looks like a large group. Thank you, Reverend Judith, for your opening affirmative prayer. So let's get with it. This talk is a talk that's done usually in the beginning of the year. Most centers, at least in the old days. I don't know what, different people are doing different things now. So it's a new year. We welcome the new year with love and joy, knowing that what we give out comes back to us, as we say, multiplied. Our program will continue as follows. For the remainder of the year, we will have our Louise classes, self-healing classes every Thursday at 7, and we're going to have our healthy living, healthy balance with Solomon on Wednesdays at 7. And we're currently in the middle of a new membership drive and also a renewal of our old members' membership drive. So please send messaging into the office. Plus, I believe it's on our website. We have a suggested love offering of $50 to be a member for the year. And we also have scholarships for those who, if it's the $50 is a problem, in other words, just ask for a scholarship. We're happy to have you be a member either way. Let's see. So today's talk is going to be on the thing itself, and that is the first chapter of our Science of Mind. So I'm going to go into a few of Ernest Holmes' words and blend it with mine for a moment. We are set on a pathway, he said, of new experience, allowing us to see through the mist, the noise, and the confusion to the eternal and changeless reality. In our study of Science of Mind, we will endeavor to do just two things: to enlighten ourselves about spiritual truths, including understanding our relationship to the universe. This process of enlightenment involves learning about the laws of nature and their relationship to the law of life. This law of life we refer to as the law of mind. The other thing we do, or endeavor to do, is to change our consciousness and to learn to think for ourselves. Just about every class I do here every Thursday, especially, and I'm sure I try to have it be a part of every message on Sunday too. We talk a lot about consciousness and how do you change your consciousness. My consciousness is made up of all the thoughts that I harbor that run around in my head. And Thursday evening, I'm always asking, what's it been like being you this week? Because I'm really wanting you to understand that whole body of thoughts, you think they're idle. They're not really idle, because the tendency of your thoughts are creating and shaping your life. So the second objective here, we're going back into an older talk, is to change our consciousness, to be mindful of what goes on within us, so we can learn to think for ourselves. And thinking for ourselves is something we spend a lot of time talking about too, because a lot of times people don't really pay attention to what they say. They respond. It's like automatic. And if you slow yourself down a little bit, we talk about taking that incredible pause, and you just think, where do I get this stuff from, these strong opinions? I mean, my God, I've had them all my life, right? And I'll say I got most of them from the time I was a child. My parents, my co-parents, my experiences. Whoever, I'll say, wronged me, or wherever I ran into a situation, I had a whole body of thinking and thoughts. And they're really the constellation of who I am, the sum total of my consciousness. So a lot of it came in through my, they call that the period of your entrainment. It really, all that means is when you're growing up. You absorbed like a sponge a lot of things. So in this teaching, we encourage you to start to think for yourselves, and sometimes that means think contrary to what you were taught as a child. Many of you know I went to a religious school growing up where they had Mass every morning, every single morning. And I was praying to saints, and I was praying to all kinds of things, and I was praying for forgiveness, and I was praying for whatever it was I needed to pray for, I was praying for every single day. And, I had a notion that there was a God above, and where there was a heaven, and if I didn't get it right, there's going to be a hell, and there was a whole lot of stuff that I was taught as a child. That's just one person, me, and one of a parochial school. I'm sure there were thousands of schools like the one I went to, and a lot of people impacted by this or dissimilar types of training. And all of that stuff that I was taught gave me a sense of, I was programmed into thinking certain things are good or wrong, and all of that, or whether I was acceptable or good enough. And a lot of our beliefs in general are lived out from those early years. I'll call them those parenting experiences, or just the experiences we had during those formative years. I spent a certain period in my life, I don't know how many years, having a lot of resentments toward my parents because I started to rebel against a lot of that stuff because it didn't make any sense, and I was always feeling wronged, and I had to get to the point where I could be good with my parents being who they were. And eventually I had to get to the point of being good with whatever the religion was. They were just passing on a lot of information that had been passed on to them for hundreds of years. So the thing about our teaching is, so we've got this consciousness that's built up of all kinds of ideas that have been passed down to us through the generations, through our particular families, and we've formed opinions ourselves since the time we're very young, very young. So we've made many opinions, we've made countless decisions based upon other people's ideas, other religions' perceptions of what is good, what's right, what's wrong. So you might say, I think the expression came from Shakespeare, the die has been cast. There it is, and this is who Greg is going to be. That's the way it is for a lot of people. The thing I know about the students of this teaching, though, or people who practice this teaching, is we are not most people. And that came down from Raymond Charles Barker, our founder here. We are not most people. People who practice this teaching will definitely interrupt a lot of that teaching that we got as kids because you're committed to it. By that I mean you're committed to finding a way to make your life work. And if you're living with a lot of shame and blame stemming out of an old religion or things that you haven't really examined very much, we're committed here to taking a look at what we're spinning. I'll say what story we're propelling. And in Louise Hay material, she'll say, go back and take a look at your parents and the conversations that they had with one another. And she would ask, what did it feel like? Did they argue a lot? What were they talking about? Was it loving? Was it caring? Were they generous? Were they great with the kids? What kind of messages were you getting? Because we had messages passed down to us, and today, every day, we're living our lives. We ask you questions here often like, are you a lifter or are you a leaner? Are you a person who's seen the good and the God in most things? Is that your commitment? Or are you constantly complaining about what's wrong? Now, it's not that either is right or wrong, it's a whole body of thoughts that come out of you and live within you every day of your life. If you're practicing this teaching, you're learning to interrupt that particular, what I'll call train of causation, which a train of causation is just a whole body of ideas that pass through me day by day. And if they tend to be all negative, then what do you think my life is going to look like? I won't be fun to hang out with, I promise you. You know, or you've heard people talk about the childhood character, Chicken Little. And what was the cry of Chicken Little? The sky is falling, right? So if that's what's living within us, if that's what we really believe, then you could see the die is cast. But it doesn't have to be that way. Raymond Charles Barker famously said, "Yesterday ended last night." And that is true. If you can just let the stuff of yesterday be in yesterday, you're going to be okay, because then you can allow yourself to be in the now or be in a new moment. So we are not most people, at least those of us who really practice this. We, though, who are practicing this amazing teaching that cannot let you down, relentlessly challenge old ideas. We challenge the outworn, the negating thoughts and ideas that do not serve, advance, and prosper our lives. We call ourselves practitioners. You could become a licensed practitioner, but you don't have to. You are a practitioner if you practice seeing the good, the God, in each moment. We come to know we are supplied and supported as we continually challenge ourselves to see what's good here. We come to know and that it's all here and it's all available. We speak with authority. I will paraphrase our founder, Raymond Charles Barker, who stated often, he actually said, "I have a rich father." Today, the times have changed. We would say, we have rich parents. We are born out of cosmic or divine intelligence. Perhaps he'd say today, we are one with the one. However he might express it, you can bet he would say it with a certain knowing, with a certain command of it, a certain authority. We all have to get to a place where we can speak and connect with this authority because you have the power. But some of you don't think you have power, so you look above and you look elsewhere and you think, who, me? But the fact is, you have the power. It's in you, it's operating through you. And, some of it operates more brightly than others. We're all on a pathway where we're growing and evolving. But as you learn to turn to it, turn within and trust it, and listen to it, you're going to get a stronger connection, and you'll be able to demonstrate things in your life more quickly. Your word can be your wand, which was the name of a book. Your word can be your wand once you have become confident of the connection that you have with Source. If you want to expand and you want to grow, you will need some willingness to stretch and to trust it. You have to have the willingness to release yesterday and anything you don't need. And you do this so you can practice seeing the good in your life everywhere. Instead of being preoccupied with seeing what is wrong or being fault finders, we turn all that around and we're preoccupied in seeing, well, what's good and what's good here. Whatever has happened has brought us to a different place. And it might have been things could have been painful to bring us there. But, there's got to be good or God in it, as we say. We want to move toward in the direction of faith, knowing always that all is well and all the time. Now, you might want to think of yourself as a spiritual warrior on a quest to see good everywhere. I remember a sponsor in a 12-step program 42 years ago. It was someone associated with Chuck C., who some of you may know, but one of the old timers. He used to say, everything is perfect. And I remember it. And that's the guy who lost a lot, but he would say, everything is perfect, because he had reached a point of knowing that everything brought him to the point where he is, and everything is perfect. Once we start to see this, then you start to see it everywhere. As we practice seeing the good, knowing it is a fact, there will be serendipitous occurrences, there will be openings, and there will be opportunities. They will appear, it'll be like magic or as never before. That comes as a result of your consciousness shifting. This is a natural result of an expanding consciousness. We're also creating a greater acceptance of the possibilities and the potential of life. We come to a place of inner knowing, and we have a spiritual awareness of self. This was a point that he emphasized, Barker. You come to know that there's something within you, this sense of self, and you just have a sense of it. You can do it in meditation. You just have an awareness that it's a real thing and it's within you. Our teaching is called the science of mind, and it's a study of what we call first cause, spirit, mind, or that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff, that intelligence which everything comes from. It's been called the power back of creation, and thus the name of the first chapter of the textbook, the thing itself. There's nothing supernatural, Mr. Holmes wrote, about the study of life from the metaphysical point of view. That which today seems to us supernatural, after it's understood, will be found very, very natural. The foundation of our study in religious science began in the late 1800s and early 1900s, as individuals sought alternative ways of healing. Even way back then, in the mid-1800s, there were large groups of people, Europe and in the United States too. Enlightened people understood that there were problems, significant problems with the dogma and the rituals of their old religions. And these would be people coming out of Judaism and various Christian groups, and I suppose others as well. So it was a growing time of enlightened people that were trying to find a new way. So back in the 1800s, these new thinkers started to emerge on the scene. The first that I want to mention was a clockmaker in New England. It was Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, who began experimenting with the process of mental healing through a form of hypnotism and mental suggestion. And of course, this won't surprise any of you. There's a picture of him. This won't surprise any of you because we teach this, but this was somewhat radical back then. The local clockmaker was working with all kinds of people, helping them have healings in their life, if you can imagine. They'd come to him for appointments, and he would sit with them, and he would listen to them and what their problems were, and he would offer some suggestions, and he would read to them and give them things to affirm. It's a little bit of hypnotism, self-hypnotism, affirmation, but the fact of the matter is he helped a lot of people. And there was a lot of attention brought to him. He became so accomplished and well known for it, I don't know if it was Maine or wherever it was, that people started to come from all over, and he established 2 sanitariums in New England area where people could come and rest and meditate and have these affirmative prayer treatments. And so he was the guy, one of the early ones. One of his patients, I learned just recently, was the famous Mary Baker Eddy. Now you all know who she was, I think. Or maybe you don't. She's not as well known these days, but she was really something else, because she was the founder of Christian Science. There's a picture of her. I recall when I was a student at Boston University that the mother church was right in the heart of Boston. It's this enormous structure. It was beautiful. So this was new thought growing. You know, it's really became a big thing, and she was a big deal. I recall also that there were Christian Science reading rooms all over the country when I was younger. And of course, as I said, the Great Mother Church in Boston. Ernest Holmes, our founder, studied for a short period of time with the Christian Science Church in Boston. Clearly, Mary Baker Eddy was so influential of a person, and it's very clear that Ernest Holmes spent a lot of time with the Christian Science material. Mary Baker Eddy won, I think it was 7 Pulitzer Prizes. She published a seminal book about spiritual healing science and health in 1875. Christian Science was founded by her and her students in Boston during that time. When Ernest studied Christian Science, he refined what he learned there into a specific technique of prayer, which we will call today affirmative prayer. Back in the day, it would have been called spiritual mind treatment. I'll just say, so people will know, Mary Baker's Eddy's work was quite extraordinary. She did not have belief in her practitioners using modern medical technologies and things like that, and I think that's, those types of decisions caused her amazing church to stop growing. But her work is solid otherwise. It's just she thought all the healing would be done through faith. So Ernest Holmes diverged from that a bit. He formed affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, which we now call affirmative prayer, and said it has the power to heal and transform by renewing of our thoughts and our minds. Our lesson today concerns this prayer, this higher power. Many of us call it God, but Ernest, I don't know if there's a picture of him, called this power. He called this power the thing itself. In our study, we want to discover what to believe in and why to believe in it, he said, and why such a belief is reasonable. And then he went on to say, let us then approach the science of mind, the science of spiritual psychology, with awe, but not with fear. Not with a fear of its wrath or any of that old stuff coming from any of those old religions. So we approach it with awe and wonder, right? Like a child. There is no God and there's no power out to get you. Now I'm going to tell you something. For centuries and centuries, people were always taught to fear the Lord, right? And we would approach the Lord with fear and trembling and all kinds of stuff, right? So we want to wash all of that away. We want to, he said, let us approach this energy, this higher power with awe and wonder and truly a humble consciousness, but not with a sense that we're unworthy. So we approach it, with a little more serenity and a sense that we are worthy. God so loved us, he created us. We're not approaching it with fear and trembling. Let us, Ernest Holmes said, approach it normally, happily, and willing to accept, glad to experience, hoping and believing that as a result of our efforts, we shall derive a great good. We can practice it, and we can even have some fun with it. Louise years later said, we work with consciousness, and she said it's like, cleaning our apartments. We just start wherever we are, whatever room, whatever task, and you just work one thing at a time. Same is true of our ideas and our thinking. If you're going down the hole, and you're being reactive, and you're just, when you're being unreasonable and you're going towards blame, that's cleaning house. You just stop there and notice. Say to yourself, whatever you need to do, stop in the name of love, or you could say, I could see peace instead of this. So we want to do some house cleaning. From other programs, I would say we're going to do some inventories. In no way are we doing these inventories or to put ourselves down, but just to put it in check. And then we can replace the old ways, old thinking with new thoughts, new ideas. The first chapter of the textbook introduces most of us to a new concept of God or source and how this power relates to our individual lives. Our first question is, was our founder Ernest Holmes calling God it? Trick question. Was our Was our founder calling God of this source energy it? Anyone want to hazard a guess?
Yes.
Yeah, he was. He was. And I remember when I first heard it in the church, probably, I don't know, 30 years ago, I blessed myself. I thought this place is like, the roof is going to fall in. Because we approached God. From my old religion, you'd go to the altar, you'd get on your knees, you would pray, and you'd bless yourself and all kinds of stuff. And when I first was exposed to religious science, I said, oh my God, they're calling God it. And I'm thinking, I don't know about all this. But yeah, Ernest Holmes definitely was referring to God as the thing itself and it. Dr. Holmes tried to avoid the use of the word God wherever he could. And I do also, because for many, he thought that the word is contaminated, because this default position is with the word God, people are thinking some guy up in this cloud, and it's two things. It's a man, and it's away from them, right? And what Holmes was trying to have us understand is it has nothing to do with anyone's sex. It has nothing to do with anyone in the skies. What he's talking about, and it certainly doesn't need to be approached in fear and trembling. Whatever this spirit is, this universal life source, I've had ministers call it everything, big sweetie, whatever it is, it's in you and it's operating through you. People think of it as a guy in the sky who doles out rewards, and some of you think he doles out punishments, plagues, locusts, floods, and all that kind of stuff. And Ernest Holmes wanted you, and wanted us to discover a new concept of spirit without any of the baggage. He would not want any of us to be bound by any comparison with our old belief system that were a result of the teachings of other faiths. He was hoping each one of us would develop our own sense of it and have our own direct experience of it. And in his passion, he refers to spirit as the thing itself, or the study of science of mind is a study of first cause, he also said. It's a study of spirit. It's a study of the great cosmic mind. It's the study of the invisible activity or energy that we all talk about. The study of the ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes. It is the study of the power of creation. Again, the thing itself. And he went on to say in that first chapter, we can define God as the deity, the supreme being, the divine presence in the universe, permeating everything. It's the animating principle in everything. We see it as love and the source of all, and the source of all inspiration. We can think of it as a power. We can think of this source as guidance, offering us divine protection. We can know it as omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. The thing that this changeless reality this is a changeless reality in which we live, move, and have our being. This changeless reality is the life within each of us. And the life that's in each of us is spirit. Whatever is true of this source, this universal presence, is true for us also, since our lives and the life of it, or the life of God, are not two, but always one. Many of us have spoken about the life of spirit within as personal and impersonal. It's personal in that it's individualized and operating within each of us. So it's an intuitive union that we have, and yet impersonal from the standpoint that it's universal, operating and creating universal life everywhere. The life within us, being divine presence, did not begin and it will not end. Hence, we are immortal and we are eternal. We can always be more of ourselves. We can experience more connection. You can really, the more you practice, you can really have a sense that you're entwined with this God, we can have a greater experience of this connection as it unfolds through our experiences, through our gatherings of knowledge and wisdom, through our ever-expanding consciousness. Our knowledge of the divine selfhood has been evolving. It's been an evolving process down through the ages and also during our life here. Evolution or spirit is the drawing out, the realization that this thing, this principle is within each one of us. Humankind has always had a special relationship with the divine. Because human beings have the ability to reflect and contemplate. We've had a divine partnership since there is God and nothing else. What else could we be but an expression or an individualization of the divine? I was told many times for many years that I am an inlet and I am an outlet of it. There is but one life. It is universal spirit, and it's operating through all life. It's the animating action of the universe, and it is the spirit forever expressing itself throughout mankind. This one energy, this one mind, this great creative mind of God that creates by means of this mind energy. The mind of God is individualized and operating through each and every one of us, since we are divinely connected to the one mind. We have the ability to initiate a creative action ourselves out of the one mind of God. There is only one body, the body of God, which would be all of the created worlds and galaxies. So as you can imagine the universe, as far as you can dream, and today it's a very large, it's a much bigger universe than we knew when I was in school. There is one body, the body of God. That's all, everything you can imagine is that. Each one of us is created out of divine substance, the divine substance of the universe. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. Everything we see is spirit in action. You look at anything around the city here. You look around your apartments and you look around, everything you see came out of the creative energy of spirit without exception. And it comes through what we call the creative law of mind. As we realize spirit is the foundation of everything, we can understand that everything is created from spirit and everything returns to spirit. Our concept of God in religious science is total love. And out of that love comes total givingness. So you can think of love being the essence. It's everywhere. And that givingness gets poured into everything. Ideas, thoughts that are put into action and soon become objects in front of you. We have our two banners here. Love, this essence, points the way, and the law makes the way possible. So out of this love comes total givingness, and the total spirit is always loving, therefore always creating out of itself, and then giving to itself by means of each one of us. God can be thought of as the divine lover, the divine creator, forever in a process of giving. We are compelled to be the divine. You can't help it. You're connected with it. More than that, you're the divine beneficiaries of this love and this givingness. The great love of the universe must be one with the great law of its own being. And so we approach love through the law. There's no shortcuts, there's no saviors, there is eternal presence, there is love. We sense and feel this as we center ourselves in the awareness of it, and as we align ourselves with it, as we practice. We cannot will it to do anything. We can align ourselves with it, align our thinking with it and its laws, and we will experience great things. We have, again, once, as I pointed to, love and law. And as the love of the universe is perfect, so the law of the universe also is perfect. We must understand both. The law of the universe is a law of cause and effect. I'm sure you've all heard that before, and it's always operating in our lives. We realize that we live and we're surrounded in an infinite intelligence that receives our ideas, all of our thoughts, words, and beliefs. And from this, these ideas, this creates our life experience according to law. This creative law is the law of mind that operates as a law of cause and effect. So in other words, it's all about you, your life. Everything in your life is about you and your thinking and your consciousness. All our life is our use of consciousness. Every Thursday I ask a question that people sometimes I wonder if you know why I ask it. What's it been like you this week? Why do I ask that question? Because it's all about you. In other words, your consciousness is the thing that's creating your life, and so you take a look at your life, and if you don't really like your creations, then understand, we don't do our work on the outside, we do the work on the inside. As we change those conversations around and make those improvements in our consciousness, they'll start to demonstrate. Sooner than later, it will definitely start to happen. Don't get tripped up in your own consciousness, and I've heard ministers say that to one another. It's just like, it's really easy to blame other people. That's what most people do for everything. But it's much more powerful if you can acknowledge, okay, well, I created this person to be this or that. I created them to be, and take responsibility for all of it yourself, because that's the quickest way you can make change. We're not very good at changing other people. That's a whole nother lesson. We don't even try. We really don't. So our life is our use of consciousness. It's our beliefs, it's our aspirations, the totality of our thinking and experiences. It's a fundamental idea in our teaching that there is a universal presence with which we may consciously communicate, and it consciously responds to us. We are in constant contact with this presence. I tell you, mine is like always nudging at me. If I'm making a mistake, I know, at moments of inspiration. Invite it in. Invite it in, because it will guide you. We can communicate with it within our own knowledge. There is a power and there's a presence in the universe which responds to us so completely and so perfectly. We have been children of lesser gods or lesser religions or whatever you want to call it. The types of belief systems which would say you're a mistake, or you're junk, or you're a sinner, or you're a failure, you're damned, or the things that many of them have said. What we go for here in this teaching is for each of you to have your own direct experience of this eternal life that exists within you. The Unity Church used to say, this is the best kept secret of the ages, the idea that God is in you. Because my God, people looked all over the world for it, right? And here it is, right here in you, operating through you. In other faiths, we've been told that we are sinners, we are less than, we're not good enough, we're not adequate. We have been told we needed to be saved, baptized, reborn. We have felt alone and abandoned by God. None of that is true. We learn here and will be amazed when we realize how completely and how perfectly the universe loves us and responds to us. It doesn't miss a thing. But it can only operate for us, through us. Tricky little statement there. The universe can only operate for us, through us. Said another way, the universe can't do for me what it can't do through me. Like the universe might be wanting me to step into a whole different level of service, or it might be wanting me to grow and evolve, and we're all here to express life and to stretch and grow, but it can't do that for me if it can't do it through me. If I'm resisting my good, if I'm fighting myself, that's a problem. So again, it can only operate to bring you to a higher place through you. So you want to cultivate a receptivity for greater good. That goes back to what we talked about last week as you approach the ocean of life. Bring bigger buckets, have bigger ideas, be open and receptive to receive more. In closing, remember, the thing itself, which is the first chapter, this presence, this love is operating through the law of mind, and it's creating in our lives right now by means of your consciousness. So it's really important to have great conversations with yourself. And when you find yourself going down in your conversations with yourself, what are you going to do? Stop it. And tell yourself something great. And so that's the first chapter. And so it is. Thank you all. Now, do we take a break or do we get right into? We're moving directly into the ceremony. Okay. Let me just shuffle a couple things here. I thought there was going to be a minute music for people to. Okay, we're going to have a brief burning bowl ceremony. Again, like many of our traditions, it's going to be different this year because we're virtual for the most part, though we're having growing numbers of people here. However, what matters in our rituals, whatever they are, is the intention we bring, the awareness of the heart that we bring. In this ritual today, both old and new, we might find some new meaning and understanding. It's a time of personal assessment and recommitment to living your highest and best life. Today in our ceremony, we're going to create a space for us to release and lighten, to make room for what is yet to come. We'll lay down those attitudes, habits, assumptions, fears, or false beliefs so that no longer move us forward, perhaps that hold us back. We celebrate this time of renewal. We consciously create the space for renewal, for new vision in this brand new year. All you're going to need is a good memory or a paper and a pencil for this exercise. So this is it. You're going to write down or mentally note attitudes, judgments, and fears that you don't think serve you. And then you're going to release them in whatever way works for you, given your space. In other words, I don't want you to set your house on fire. We're not going to burn bowls here. In years past, when we met together, we've burned them or placed them in water and watched them dissolve. Today, you can simply set them aside or rip them up if you want. The way you do it isn't so important, the way of release. What matters is your awareness of what you're doing, what's been holding you back, and your willingness to release it. So let's open ourselves to the possibility of this moment, this ritual. Let's begin with a time of affirmation, a time of affirmative prayer, bringing our focus and our attention to this place and this time. What do I mean by this place? The place that you are in, each of you, wherever you are, bring your attention to it. I want to speak a short prayer for all of us. I know there is source, I know there is love, awareness, and awakening, and it's in us. We bring our minds and our focus here. We bring ourselves to the here and now. And as we breathe, we quiet our minds and we release all that's gone before this moment. We think about it. Things come into our minds. We release all that's gone before this moment. We release so we can let our minds rest, knowing that there is nothing we need to do here and now other than breathe and be. We open our hearts to the presence of Spirit and Source. You might notice it warming you, supporting you, and it's leading to a deeper knowing, an ever awakening. Let us take the time to deepen our awareness of spirit, of divine energy all around us. We notice that we're open, we're willing, and so it is. So with our burning bowl, the idea of the burning bowl is it's a time of renewal. There's many different faiths that talk about a journey. I'll mention a couple. The Buddha, for example, leaves his home and family and travels the roads for 6 years seeking enlightenment. Joseph and Mary traveled to Bethlehem for the birth of Jesus, who through his life and message teaches the power of our own connection with the divine. The ancient Israelites wander in the desert for 40 years as they travel from slavery and exile to a new home. And like most of the enlightened in the world's faith traditions, each one of us is on a journey of growth, a journey of understanding, of learning and unlearning. As we travel, we acquire new possessions, new ideas, and we lay aside those ideas and judgments we no longer need. The Buddha taught that the boat is needed to cross the river, but it becomes a burden if you then carry it on your back as you continue on dry land. Through the years, we have developed attitudes, judgments, beliefs, assumptions that perhaps served us when we were younger, but they don't serve us any longer. Yet we continue to carry them, often not even conscious of the burdens that they add. We don't realize how light we would be, how spacious our worlds will become when we lay them down, when we make room for a new understanding that's waiting to unfold. The new year offers us the promise to begin fresh and new. Many of us feel the need to heal through releasing old patterns. How do they show up in your life? Make a note. How do you find the same situation that keeps coming up in your life? Or do you find the same situation coming up in your life? Our ceremony is a time for us to consciously identify those attitudes, judgments, fears, resentments, false beliefs that we carry needlessly, and to lay them down, to release them. The fire that we typically use is a symbol of transformation. You can imagine the phoenix rising, reborn from the ashes. So are we given new life, new vision, as we surrender our old understanding to make room for new wisdom and new experience. We don't have to have the fire or the bowl burn. It's a wonderful image, but in our remote setting, our virtual setting, it's not practical for us to do it that way. So the release is going to be in your heart. Whatever action you take will have meaning. The ceremony may be especially valuable this year in the post-pandemic era. It's been such a journey, such a roller coaster for so many. As you continue to breathe in deeply, in and out, sit with the consciousness of this being a new year. What in your heart burdens you that you could release? This new year will be different in ways we perhaps can anticipate, and in many ways we can't. What do you think you need to release? What weighs you down, slows you down from focusing as we welcome this new year with openness, curiosity, and joy? Our first meditation is one of release. During the meditation, you'll have the opportunity to write down whatever arises in your consciousness. And as it closes, I invite you to release what you have written or mentally thought of by setting it aside or ripping it up. And then we have a very brief second meditation, which we step into the new year. As Michelangelo said, every block of stone has a statue inside of it, and it's the task of the sculptor to discover it. We chip away, we search, we reveal, we refine the beauty in our essence. So much of our wisdom is the task of unlearning, We discover our true nature, the divine at our source, removing all the false layers that hide it. Our spiritual practices, including the ceremony today, help us gently remove all that's not source, all that's not us. We quiet our minds, we breathe, and we open our hearts to find the wisdom waiting. So in this meditation, we sit with these questions, and here they are. What are my deepest desires, my intentions for this new year? Question number 2, how will I share my gifts with my family, my world? How will I express myself? What is foremost sitting on my heart that I want to bring forward into this year? What do I know about myself? What truth about myself do I affirm today, in the here and now? This is not a to-do list, it's a deeper question. What will my continued journey look like in this new year? Now that I have released those beliefs, those burdens that have held me back, what is next for me? By now, I'm assuming you've written down the things you want to write down, right? These are all the things that mentally we have released, or we're willing to release. Now we want to take our paper again, or mentally note it. You can do it in your mind and consciousness as well. Let us take up some paper in which we write our desires, our deepest intentions, what we really want to change or do. And if you're done, you may simply keep them, perhaps place them in some place that's sacred for you in your room, or wherever if you could, I don't know if you have a table or an altar, some significant space in your home to use as affirmations throughout the year. So we have a little meditation here. I invite you again to sit comfortably, resting in your chair. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. As you breathe in and out, connect with the power of Spirit moving in and through you now. Before you is the fabric of the new year, ready for your design in whatever way you choose. As you sit and breathe, listen to the voice of Spirit within you, loving you, guiding you on your perfect path. Open your heart to an awareness of Spirit's presence in you, through you. Your heart is open, your mind is receptive to the gifts of this new moment, this new year. You still your thoughts so that you may hear your inner voice, which is also the voice of your deepest knowing. As you continue to breathe, your heart opens so Spirit's guidance is at work in all you do. You perceive the potential of this day and every day for your light, love, and intelligence to flow through us. Resting once again in your heart space, you move to the place of pure light and love. It's that presence we call Source, or Christ consciousness, Buddha nature, God by whatever name. Take once more a deep breath and move deeper into this place in your heart where your deep knowledge rests, where you feel your deep connection with the divine presence. Take a moment and rest in that place, breathing in and out. You are at that shift in energy from one year to the next, from one ending to a new beginning. With your heart and mind open to guidance and wisdom, gently review the past one more time. And as you recall the unfolding of the days, and you explore the feelings that arise within you, once again listen for any attitude, assumption, experience, fear, or belief that keeps arising within you. Whatever it is, just be mindful about it. Anything that interrupts the peace and the harmony within you. What belief or attitude no longer serves you? What's no longer valid and may even be holding us back from our highest good? Is there anything else you need to release as you move forward into this new year of 2023? So we sit with that. So now we move into a place where, once again, we are releasing any added information which is no longer helpful. We release without resentment, without judgment. Many of the feelings and attitudes and beliefs that have been placed in our imaginary bowl served us once, and they simply no longer do. The essence of learning is being able to unlearn, to shed the layers of ego and error that over the years we all have layered over our divine light within. Your light will now shine brighter as we let go of these layers. We still our thoughts once again so we may hear the inner voice telling you what is your heart's desire as you move forward on your path of awakening. We are open to guidance of the source in all we do. We perceive the potential of this day and every day for the divine light, love, intelligence to flow through us. We rest in the knowing that it's a new day, a new year of transformation, a year of beauty and possibilities, inspiration and promise. We greet the new year aware that we are filled with all the potential for growth, perfection, and transformation. The truth is now living within every cell and fiber of your being. This truth flows through and around our every thought and word. Ideas that are dormant now will awaken to the full promise of this new year. Friendships will strengthen in this new year. You are filled with joy of sharing life's journey with those you love and those you have yet to meet. You embrace the joy of each morning. In this new year, you know that you are guided and empowered to transform difficulties into stepping stones to mastery. Challenges also are overcome. You are supplied and supported. You move forward with hope into this new year. You are filled with peace, inviting growth. You're expressing gratitude. In the quiet of this time, you might note your intentions for the coming year. Begin to communicate your dreams in writing. You can do this at home later today as well. Look at them in the stillness of your own being. If you're done here now, reread what you have written. If you need more time, you can continue doing this at home later in the day, where you will want to reflect on Spirit's truth revealed to you and be at peace with it. So now I assume everyone has thought about the things that they want to release and have some of your intentions in place. let's take a moment to unfold all that we have released and all of our intentions into the loving arms of Spirit. Our ritual is actually done, but it's something that you can continue with as you contemplate today. As you move forward, keep alive the energy and the awareness, the new growth, the intention, and the transformation. Thank you. And so ends it.